Then. Hello, Mr. Martinez. I'm actually really excited for this show. I had a really, really good friend, just reference you and said that you'd be a great guest to have on today. And what was really exciting is because it's when you're a busy man, so it's like we're blessed to catch you.
I'm blessed to be here.
It's awesome to catch you and to be able to get a chance to hear your story. And I know you just landed in the IE, California. So this is a whole new world. So we're excited to have you, and we appreciate you on. Everybody, welcome to the B&E podcast. This is the beginning of the never ending, the beginning of people and the stories of them. And life, what it feels like to kind of be in your shoes. And our community is really hyper-focused on just trying to explore the human journey and what it is, the purpose of kind of people and how they came to be. And our hope is to share as many stories of just, people working on projects and their goals and trying to make the world a better place in their own way and their journey throughout it. So thank you again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jovonni.
Awesome. So, first things first, we want to go into, obviously, the guests. Please feel free to chime in. We have a live chat. More than welcome to ask questions. And if you, we're more than welcome for people to kind of chime in and say, hey, they're so curious on how things are going. So hopefully you're okay with that.
I'm totally fine. Life's an open book.
Let's get it then. So where does it begin? Louis Jack Martinez, is that right? Is that
correct?
Okay. Where does it begin? Maybe you can start with like your great grandparents, or I don't know too much about your ancestry. I don't know if you know how kind of like you came to be, or.
Well, yeah, I have a very interesting background. My mother and father met in the service. They met in the Army.
Oh, really?
And they were stationed in San Francisco. And, Mom's favorite song, their song was I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And they like to joke, or at least before my dad passed in 2008, they used to like to joke that I was conceived under the Golden Gate Bridge. Which is just like, wow, TMI, Mom. No. But, so they got together in 63, got married in 63 of October. I was born in 1964. And that
60s were a good time, yeah.
Oh, my 60s were tumultuous, and some of the best music ever written came out of the 60s.
Yeah.
So I was born in 64 in East L.A.,
Whoa.
Of all places. In East L.A., that's where I was
born.
So
they transferred
from San Francisco to L.A.
Really?
Yeah, because my dad had family down here, and so my dad was Mexican American, Chicano. He likes to call himself, and then my mother was Samoan. Or is Samoan. She's still alive. She's going to be 80 next February. Yeah, so Mom's Samoan. And matter of fact, you know what you get when you cross Samoans with Mexicans?
No.
Samoan Mexicans.
That's a really good. That's amazing.
I heard somebody told me that joke like that in college, but I've used it ever since. But yeah, it's special. My mom's name is Leilani, and she was born in Apia, Western Samoa. Now they just call it Samoa. My dad was born in Kingman, Arizona. And so my dad is American descent, so I'm kind of third generation on his side. And, I was born in East L.A., then we moved to Norwalk, and then to La Mirada, where I spent my formative years. And that's kind of where I went to high school, junior high school, last elementary school as well.
So you kind of like your family's a little bit all over. That's a lot of culture.
Oh, a lot of culture, And then I married a Native American woman, so that's a whole. My kids are a mix. It's and it's beautiful, because it's the American story.
Yeah, it is.
It's so great. So, but
and so your grandparents, can you kind of describe the kind of personalities they had? I don't know if you ever got to meet them.
I wish I did. On my dad's side, I never met my grandmother. She passed away in, I believe, 63, 62. So I was before I was born. And then my grandfather, on my dad's side, he passed away 66. So 2 years, when I was 2. So I was very, very small. So, I think he got to hold me, but that was pretty much about it. So Then on my mother's side, I was able to spend some time with my grandmother. When I graduated from college, she paid for me to be able to go visit her in Samoa, which is the American side. She was Pango Pango Afono. So I was able to visit her there after college, and so spent some time with her there. And she had visited us a couple times in the States. And then my grandfather, I might have met once when I was very, very young, but really had very little contact with him until I graduated from grad school and sent him a telegram. And he was so incredibly happy and proud of me, and that he sent me a telegram. So that was pretty much all I knew of my grandfather.
So do you have a fairly big family, or is it like a lot of brothers and sisters?
Yeah, pretty big. I think my dad had 13 brothers and sisters.
13.
My mom had
It's like
6 or 7. So, pretty big family.
it's the love season, right? Like this
It's something like that. Maybe that's Samoan blood or Mexican blood.
yeah. So you're kind of mentioning that most of your life, it seems, was in East LA. Is that right?
That was the beginning.
The beginning.
So really, I was just born there and stayed there a couple of years, probably up until I was 3. City Terrace and on a street called Pomeroy, and then moved to Norwalk, and that's where I went to kindergarten and first grade. So Norwalk, California, and then after Norwalk, Dad wanted to get out of it. It was getting a little rough. Plus, there's a dairy right down the street, so you can imagine the smell. So we moved from Norwalk to La Mirada in about 71, 72. And that's kind of where, like I said, spent my formative years, went the rest of my elementary and junior high school and high school.
I don't know if you know where your kind of parents rank on that list, 13 and 6 and 7. Are they like their youngest or the oldest? Or
Dad was one of the youngest, so he's towards the end. He has 3 brothers and sisters younger than him, so the rest were older. And then mom was the oldest. Yeah, mom was the oldest. Yeah, and all her brothers and sisters are younger than her.
So, what kind of type of personality was your parents?
Oh gosh, Dad was just.
And I apologize. I don't want to speak past tense. I apologize. I'm not sure.
That's okay. Yeah, Dad's passed. Mom's still with us.
Okay.
Dad was just a joy to be around. He was hilarious. He was funny. He was. There's sayings that me and my brother and my 2 sisters, and I'll talk more about that, but that we still share to this day about my dad in terms of just sayings and stuff like that. So, so Dad was a very funny guy, very witty, and Mom was just a heart of gold and just loved people, and continues to this day to serve and to help others. Mom's going to be 80 next February, and she's still serving the community and loving her girls. She has groups of women through church that she loves and supports and encourages. So yeah, she's just a wonderful. Everybody that meets Mom, that's my mom.
You had it seems like really, really enriching parents. Like
Incredibly enriching parents, incredibly supportive parents. They were always, always encouraging. And I think they had a lot to do with, my success, and I've been fairly successful, in academics, and now I'm doing a career that I love, and that's what they say, you want to do something you love to do.
So how were you as a kid? Were you kind of rebellious? Were you like the type just to kind of go with the flow?
That's a great question. I think I was a pretty doggone good kid. I was a good kid. I wanted to please Mom and Dad. I wanted to make them happy. So, and I was the first kid. So I'm the first. So I had to set the example. I had to set the tone. And so I had to go to college, and I had to get my degrees, and I had to, I just had to be a good example, and that I think that's what I've striven to do. In the midst of everything. And so, they were very nurturing and very supportive, and they were there for all my graduations. I went to La Mirada High School, Neff High School first, and then La Mirada. I went to Neff High School for 3 years in La Mirada, and then my high school closed, and I had to go to my rival high school for my senior year, which is, I can't imagine the worst thing in the world that can happen.
Right.
A football team that I hated because I was a football player, and I hated the most. And I had to go there and put on their uniform and play for them my senior year. That was a time of character testing, So
your Samoans are like they're not.
Oh.
They're brawly. They're proud. They're very like type of people.
Yeah,
Mother being the oldest.
We definitely play. We got a football community in a lot of ways, but my brother really got more of the Samoan size. I mean, I wish I was as big in high school as I am now. Goodness gracious! But yeah, in high school I was about 5'10", and I weighed 195 pounds. And then I went to play at a Divisions 3 school.
Oh, wow.
Pomona College.
Yeah.
I went there to play football. And then my brother, though, he's the big one. He's 6'3", 6'3", 300 pounds, I mean, big boy.
Yeah.
And so he got all the Samoan size. I got the Mexican size, I guess. So. Or maybe right in between the two.
Right in between the two.
Yeah.
So seems like you two were close, hopefully.
Super close.
You and your
8
brother?
years apart. I'm the oldest. He's the youngest.
Yeah.
Then we have two twins between us. But I was the one that he followed all over the place and took him all over the place and became the best of friends. And I tried to set a great example for him. And he's done well in his own right, very well. So very, very proud of my brother. Larry, we call him the Bear because he's so big.
Right, 6'3" is no joke.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And so, any like really key, maybe childhood friends that you kind of remember going through life through? Yeah,
some really key childhood friends. I think my best friend Mark Armijo, who is a successful attorney. And as a matter of fact, he is the partner. He's like the senior partner in his law firm. So he did really, really well. SC boy, he went to USC and then went to Western School of Law, Western something or other. Anyway, but he did real well. Passed the bar his first go, and he's done exceedingly well. We remain best friends to this day. Paul Escudero, another incredibly successful man, right now managing over $1 billion in assets in Orange County. For a company called Orange Capital Management.
Whoa.
He's just, we've been friends for such a long time. He's done exceedingly well. Him and his brother started a firm back in the 80s, and it just blew up. And then one of my best friends was Greg Cullen, who we met at Harvard. So we met at Harvard together in 1986. He was at the School of Business, and I was at the School of Government. And we met each other through church. We actually went to the same church. And so we've been best friends since then. And now Greg is a multi-million-dollar, maybe billion-dollar developer now, doing projects all over Southern California. The latest ones are in Corona del Mar, and we kind of still work together a little bit. I do a little marketing with him and helping with investors and things like that. So I've been blessed with some superstar friends.
So
done really well.
I mean, it seems like something that's really cool. I kind of caught on here is you're going kind of through this path. You recognize that you being the oldest, you want to set the best example possible.
Absolutely.
You have great relationships with your brother. He's a young guy. Yeah. Obviously, you have twins in between. Yes. But like, there's a sense of like this kind of nobility. You're going to sports. You're doing obviously sports, and it seems like you're actually taking academics really, really seriously. Yeah. Like, do you feel like these times were like really stressful for you? Do you feel like these times were like, no, there was just exciting moments every day? Like, how do you kind of feel like
that's a great question, Jovonni. They were exciting. They were somewhat stressful at times. Getting through college, and worked pretty hard in undergrad. But when I went to Harvard, it's a whole nother level of work and the level of work. So there was definitely stressful times at Harvard where I thought, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to get out of here. So blessed to even be there with the scholarships that I got. And, I think it was before affirmative action kind of faded. I was able to get in with decent grades. I could have done so much better, but as an athlete and, not really being too disciplined and loving the party scene in the Pomona College, the Claremont colleges.
Right.
Didn't do, I did okay, but not as well as I could have done. But I had to really bear down at Harvard. And thank God in 1989 I got my master's degree. So it worked out really nice. But yeah, it was there were some tough times. There were some character building times.
And are you obviously you kind of mentioned that your family's obviously very cultural.
Yeah.
Are you traveling as a child, as in middle school through high school?
Honestly, the only places we traveled to when I was younger is Mom was so far from home, so we never went to Samoa. But my dad was from Kingman, Arizona, so we went to Kingman, Arizona a lot, and a place called Yuma.
Yeah.
So we went to Yuma, Arizona a lot, and so spent some great time with the cousins there. And for whatever reason, Dad always chose, I guess it was because we're out of school, but summertime in Samoa, in Yuma.
Woo!
Not Samoa, but Yuma. Oh my gosh, you're talking about 120, 130 degree weather. It's insane. But
keep cooking eggs on the concrete.
Oh, but you're so happy. You're a kid, so
yeah.
You're having a great time, and the Yuma nights were very memorable because to run around because it was so warm at night.
So the dynamic between your family, your friends, kind of going through school, doing in sports, do you kind of feel like some of these moments that you kind of look back on now, that's like, wow, you feel like you appreciated them?
Without a doubt. I think I'm the only kid I know of in junior high school that didn't want to grow up. I didn't want to get older because I knew as a 13-year-old, I got to work. I got to take responsibility. I mean, I'm thinking this through at a 13, 14-year-old kid, and I said, God, I don't want to get older, but obviously time marches on, right? So I do look back at those times as incredibly, just grateful. I'm so grateful for the family and the friends that I've had, but you deal with different things that come up, I mean, later on, in life, you find out things that you don't necessarily want to find out. My dad and mom had started a nonprofit organization, and then it came out later on that Dad went through a very hard time financially, and so kind of hit the till, said, okay, I'm going to borrow a little bit of money here and I'll pay it back later. Best of intentions, didn't work out, and so my family ended up having to pay all that money back to the nonprofit organization that they started, and they did great work. And that's one blemish of years of my dad just being a superstar and really being a kind of dad that everybody wanted. But I mean, we all got character defects,
sure,
and they all come out in one time or another.
Yeah.
So
it's cool that you some people tend to hyper focus on the negatives.
Oh yeah.
But man, it just seems as if like you recognizing you're very wise for, it seems like, during this time. You understand like, hey, how appreciative you are of being a child and being able to kind of go and experience life the way you're experiencing it. But you're not taking it for granted. It seems like you really are in part about your studies. You're enjoying the team that you have and stuff. Obviously, when you graduate high school, you have a little fun at Pomona. You go a little partying a little bit.
It happens.
But you don't look down on your dad at all.
Not at all. Oh no, I mean, my dad's my hero. Because as you get older, you realize I'm 58 years old now. So I'm looking back at my own character defects, and I'm saying we all got them. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Every individual on the planet has character defects. Sometimes they come out.
Right.
Sometimes they come out into the public light.
Right.
Sometimes they're hidden and never come out.
Right.
But there's no doubt in my mind that people have them.
Right.
So, and then, I'm a student of the Bible. So I read the scriptures and I'm like, so much wisdom, so much great stories, and so many broken people. So you'll get, the David, who was, just an incredible king, and man after God's own heart. The guy was an adulterer. He was a murderer. King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, dude was a sex addict. I mean, it's like, so you read these stories and you're realizing it's just people. We're just people. So I appreciate Dad, appreciate Mom, appreciate, just the life I've lived because, if you're honest with yourself and you're honest with people, they tend to gravitate towards you.
Right.
If you put up a facade, it's not going to happen. Facebook, everybody puts their best face forward. And of course,
right.
Totally understandable, but sometimes I feel like it's fake book now, or Facebook.
Right.
Hey, this phase of my life is going really well, so I'm going to put all these pictures up, and this is awesome. But you don't want to see the ugly stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's ugly stuff out there, Being a recovering addict myself, I mean, it's like all the positive things I grew up with. People would think, how in the heck did you get caught up in addiction? It's just like I was snorting cocaine in college. It was the 80s. Right. Everybody was doing it. So, and then you get caught up in that crap. And I almost at Harvard, I almost died from a cocaine overdose. Stupid. And this is the same time a guy by the name of Len Bias had just got drafted by the Boston Celtics from the Maryland Terrapins, and he died. He got drafted number 2 in the first round. He never played a basketball game for the Celtics because he had bad coke in the summer of 1986.
Jeez.
And that's when I entered Harvard. It broke my heart, but it also changed me. I stopped doing cocaine in '86. Thank God.
Yeah.
But it's all to say that we all have these things in our background that if we get help, if we get have some little transparency with the right people.
Right.
I don't have transparency with the wrong people. It's just that's the worst thing to do. But you talk to the right people, you get the right help, and you get the right healing. And that's a beautiful thing, especially in my line of work, which is ministry,
right?
Which is what I love to do. I always wanted to work with people, and I'm working with people every single day. And be able to meet folks from all different walks of life.
I mean, hearing what this dynamic, right? It seems like, I don't know if maybe you can help guide me. Just gonna take a quick step back here. Are you going through church as a child, and is your parents taking you to that?
When I was an older child, they started saying, "Hey, listen, we got to get the kids back to church." So they sent us to CCD.
CCD,
St. Philip's in Fullerton, I believe it was. And so we did our CCD class, but we were older. I was older than all the kids in there.
Yeah.
Gosh, all these little kids doing their first Holy Communion, and I'm like, dang, And then I did my first Holy Communion. Then I was confirmed. That's what Catholics go through. And then in college, that's kind of when it was high school. I started having different epiphanies, and a friend of mine took me to Calvary Chapel, and I went over there, and I learned a lot, and I said the sinner's prayer to pray Jesus into my heart and all that stuff, and that would last for a little while, but I love the girls and I love the sin, and I went back to that over and over again through college too.
So you would go to church and then also
go right back.
You were like you were this battle. This was a battle over you.
Jovonni, from high school, to gosh, I would say the present day in a lot of ways, but I was trying to find Jesus. I was trying to find God, and I went to college. Same thing. Went to all kinds of different churches. Tried everything. First Baptist, Black Baptist, Foursquare, you name it. I was trying to find something because with everything I have, there's still the void. And I guess they call it the God void. And I tried all these different experiences and retreats, but could never change me. And then I went back east for my master's degree, and a guy invited me to Bible study, a guy by the name of Dan Liu, a Chinese-American kid from Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I went to Bible talk with him, and I never looked back. I got baptized December 12th of 1986.
Wow.
And that's when I first began to get in touch with my character.
Is this is this like your first jump into working, or have you been working throughout this whole time as well?
Well, it was all school. It was all academic.
Dude,
So it was right after Claremont Pitzer College in '86. I graduated and then went right into grad school. So I was going to school.
You were going to school.
Yeah, and he was in my class. And so, he was a Yale kid who came into Harvard. I was a Claremont kid who came into Harvard. And, I went to that Bible study, and I sat there, and I actually learned the Bible. And I'm like, how in the world do you grow up in church and not know the Bible? I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
But I became grateful that I learned this thing, and now I know that book from cover to cover. I mean, there's nothing in the Bible I don't know. It's like, how did that happen? Well, daily use,
right.
And I just didn't have that growing up. But I had religion.
Sure.
There's a big difference between religion and the relationship God wants to have with you through His Scriptures, and Holy Spirit.
So you're in this space, right? As you're going through college, you want to go for your master's. One of the things I'm curious about, and I've been sitting down with guests, I've been hearing this a lot, is that you really are kind of who you surround yourself with, right?
So true.
When you first were in the Pomona College and then you transitioned to is it because of that change of place where you started changing the habits that you had?
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, at Claremont, Pomona Pitzer has their athletic programs combined. So, we were called the Sage Hens. And the Sage Hens love to party.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We partied, and it's hard to get away from that. And I still love those guys, from way back when.
Yeah.
But that was who I hung out with, and that was, and then I hung out with guys that loved to do cocaine. And so we would do cocaine together, and we would use scholarship money sometimes to buy coke. It was just, I look back on it and I'm like, I shake my head. I'm like, what was I thinking? But that's kind of where I was at in the 80s, and then going to Harvard, same thing. I was starting up with the same group, starting to party again, and that thing happened with the bad coke. And I had that bad trip, changed me. I just stopped doing coke. I said never again. And then a week later, invites me to Bible study.
Wow, the timing of this.
It's like, wow, So that's what happened. And then I never looked back. I continued to go to church in Boston. We met at the Boston Garden with the Celtics play basketball. Because the church was so big, it was like 3,000 people. But we had smaller groups at the Harvard campus ministry, and it was the great combination of a small ministry group where you can get accountability and love and support, and then a huge group where I'm not kind of outcast. I'm part of a much bigger thing, and then we went worldwide, and that's a whole nother story that I'd love to tell some other time. But man, I tell you, but it made a difference. And it's scriptural, bad company corrupts good character.
Yeah,
the scripture teaches. And so you hang around with bad elements, you're going to become bad yourself.
So what did you go to school for, though?
I got my undergrad degree in English Lit and Economics at
Interesting.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, I took economics at Pomona College.
And what was the thought of that? Just because you kind of liked the...
It's because I had decided that after organic chemistry, I wasn't going to be a doctor. Organic chemistry, I was kind of like, no, I'm not going to med school, so I'll go to law school.
Right.
And so I decided to major in English literature and with a smattering of economics. So that's kind of what I did, and I was going to go to law school. And then I applied to UCLA Law School. I applied to Berkeley, applied to University of Rochester, Columbia, and Harvard was kind of like, that's the school I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I got into UCLA Law, which was wonderful, and I got into all the other places.
Yeah.
But Harvard was holding back. They didn't accept me right off.
It's kind of like, then that's the girl you want.
That's the one I want, man. That's the one. And sure enough, I waited. I couldn't wait anymore, and then I accepted at Columbia.
Wow. So
I accepted at Columbia, and the guys were excited to have me, et cetera, et cetera. And it was like a day later, they called me from Harvard. Hey, we really like your application, and we decided to accept you. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
So I had to call Columbia and say, hey, Steve Cohen, I remember his name. Steve, got bad news. I'm not coming to Columbia after all because I got into Harvard.
Yeah.
I don't think I said that second part, but maybe I did. Because you had to have a reason. Chief, You're not going to go to Columbia? What's wrong with you? Well, because I'm going to Harvard, So.
But I don't know if you ever became a lawyer, right? Or attorney.
What happened was that I had only applied to UCLA Law School.
Oh, excuse me.
All my other schools were schools of government and politics.
You mentioned this, government.
Yes. So one law school, which I got into, UCLA, and then 4 schools of government and public policy. And I chose Harvard.
And you ended up being a pastor.
That's exactly right.
Isn't that
something?
Isn't that what? That's a journey.
It was a church that literally transformed my life. Because they just, once again, when your religion is based on something concrete,
sure,
which is the scriptures.
Yeah.
It seems to last longer. It seems to deepen your convictions. And so I knew what I believed in. So I was able to give up the girls. I mean, I committed to a life of celibacy at 22. 6 years of celibacy. And I'm like, my friends thought I was crazy. They said, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's what the scriptures call me to be, is sexually pure until marriage. I mean, that's what I see. I got plenty of friends who call themselves Christians and do whatever they want and sleep around and, live in with their girlfriends. I'm like, God's your judge, not me. But I tell you, from the scriptures, I couldn't do that. I can't do, if I want to be a real Christian, I'm going to be one. I left my childhood church. I left my childhood church for this church because my childhood church did not teach me the scriptures, and this one did. And so I've been with this church, for, 35 years now.
35 years?
35 years.
I thought you would have gone to a different church by now.
No, same church. Same church. And the church is funny. It has its own history, but the church went through a split. And then one segment decided to, I want to say, I guess I put it politely, compromise. And the other one said, no, we're going to stick to our principles. And matter of fact, it's so funny because you had asked me to bring different things.
Please, yeah.
To share. And we have this thing called the First Principles and Follow-Up Studies. And this is kind of the booklet that we use to teach people the Scriptures. And what's amazing is that all it does is it condenses all the essential Scriptures regarding salvation in one, and the history of Jesus in the Old Testament in one place. It's spectacular. It's like you will learn more Bible reading that in the next year than you've learned your whole life. That's how powerful that teaching tool is. And so I've been using it and working with it ever since.
Yo, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I wish I can. Let me see if I can set it like this. Let's see if that'll hold it. Oh, just might. Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
So tell me. So now that you're kind of you're going through school, obviously you still focus on your studies, but you're also finding this new relationship, right? One with your career, but also with God, and then obviously going through church and stuff. What is your family thinking about all this? Like, how's your relationship with them and friends? And
Great question. Number one, I baptized all my family into Christ.
Yo,
they were all in a traditional church, and I shared the Scriptures with them, and one by one, they saw the light, so to speak.
Right.
And they had the same experiences. Like, well, we go to church, and we go to church on Christmas and Easter and Ash Wednesday, but we've never studied the Scriptures.
Right.
And now we're studying them, and now we're seeing, oh my gosh, there's so much more to Jesus and to church than we ever knew. And so one by one, every single one of them was baptized, including my dad. My dad was baptized at the age of 68. 68 years old, and he saw the light, and he was convinced to come around because of my sister Laura. And Laura just said one year, it was 2005, Dad, I love you, and it's my birthday, November. Actually, it's coming up. Her birthday is coming up again on the 30th of November. But she told him, will you study the Bible? That's all I want you to do for my birthday. He decided to study the Bible in 2005, and he was baptized in I think Martin Luther King Day, 2006, in January. And so the whole family was baptized, and, they've been believers ever since, And, sadly, like I said, my dad passed away 2 years later, but amen, went to heaven, praise God.
Yeah.
But just recently, my sister who convinced him to study the Bible, she just passed. She passed away of COVID this year. So her name is Laura, and we put a whole thing together for her. It's my sister right there.
Wow.
She's probably one of my heroes of my lifetime. 55 years old, so very young.
Yeah.
Too young. But she took the shot. She got the shot, and she got sick from the shot and died. And it just breaks my heart because I didn't know, but she had a very negative reaction to the flu shot. So I knew she's always super healthy, but these vaccinations weren't good for her. But I guess the company was going in that direction. She's a superstar, the senior vice president. She has a variety of different designations, but she was the top dog at a place called Judicial Arbitration and Mediation Services, and she did so well that she moved on up, from a receptionist to be the senior vice president of human resources, and there we go, Chief Human Resources Officer for JAMS, Judicial Arbitration and Mediation Services, and she graduated from Pitzer like I did.
Wow.
And she started out as a receptionist, which was a bummer after college, right? And then she just stayed with the company and did amazing things. Became a superstar executive, and it was a real unfortunate occurrence, but what a blessing she has been, and being able to share the gospel with her, and then her to share the gospel with my dad, and then my cousin Joey, who also passed this year from cancer.
Jeez.
We've had a lot of death this year. She was 55 when she passed. My cousin Joey he was on his way he was going to be 50 this year and passed away. But this is all to say that, I was able to help a lot of my family become Christians in the midst of my own flaws, in the midst of my own defects, in the midst of my own demons, so we'd call them. It's just like, as long as you deal with them, as long as you get help with them, you're going to get well. You don't deal with them, you hide them from people, you hide them from, those you care about, you're just going to get sicker. Where they say, we're only as sick as our secrets. And I'm like, dang, that's true. So so my whole family was converted, and I couldn't be more grateful to my God for saving, my people. So I love this girl, and I miss her. Yeah, and it would have been her 55th birthday.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's a long time to know someone. There's, I don't have, I was the only child up until recently, but being the oldest and someone younger than you, that's just it just doesn't I imagine how hard that could be.
It's just a tragedy. I mean, it's tragic. No matter how you slice it, it's tragic. I hated it when my dad died at 70. 70 nowadays is so young.
Yes, yeah.
But 55.
Yeah.
It's and we all, and all my brother and my surviving sister and my mom, we all process our grief differently.
Right.
And I think my brother and my sister still take it very hard. And obviously, as the date approaches, would have been her 55th birthday this year. It's so hard for them, and it's hard for me, but in a different way, because my sister Laura was an inspiration to me. I came out of ministry for a while because of character defects in 2001, came out of ministry for 11 years and did financial planning and real estate. And it was that 11th year of that career change where she came up to me and said, it was a tough go. And so she would help me with my mortgage. And she goes, I love you, and I don't mind helping you, Louis Jack, with your mortgage, and I'm always going to be here to help you. And that's how well she did. She was able to pay my mortgage on her own, and she said to me, I just don't understand why you're doing this. And I said, doing what? Why are you doing real estate? This is not what you were created to do. You need to be back in the ministry. And it was just kind of like, when in the Rocky movie, where his wife says, one thing I want you to do for me, after she tells him to stop fighting, one thing I want you to do for me. And he goes, what's that? And he leans in and she says, win. And that was the inspiration from my sister to go back into full-time ministry and fulfill my purpose. And so I've been back since 2012. And it has been a ride. Yeah. It has been a journey. It has been a ride. It's been wonderful. It's been difficult. It's been challenging. But it's been awesome. I mean, you're catching me. Thank God. I'm so glad you're catching me on an upswing, Jovonni, because that ain't always the case, right?
Listen, I think perspective really matters here. Yeah. The humility that you have.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, man. It's like, a lot of people, they kind of ride the high horse about their life, But man, you really appreciate these moments, You appreciate it. I mean, a lot of people don't tend to just appreciate, just like, hey, when things are not the greatest, like you mentioned the fake book, Facebook.
And we all do it, right? I do it.
Right.
I put up my highlights.
Right.
My lowlights I keep to a small group of people. Sure. Who I love and trust.
But I think what you're doing, I think is hard, and I think that takes the real work of someone trying to make not just a difference in your own personal life, but family seems like a big thing to your people. It's obviously I know culturally it's a big thing, but like hearing your journey, like you don't really have you have a lot of close friends, it seems. Right? Obviously, you hang out with others, but like you really were trying to kind of find your way. Even going into the real estate side, you're still kind of like. You don't want to let it go, right? You kind of get that tug of war. It feels like, maybe I don't know if you feel that way too, but like the world versus God, and you're kind of going through this battle. Like, what side do I want to go on?
That is a great question. I think number one, when I was baptized December 12th, 1986, I had a rough little first month where I kind of wanted to turn my back because it was just too hard. Celibacy. That by itself was like, oh, I'm 22 years old. What are you talking about? And I was very active in college. And so it's, but when I realized the decision I was making to stay faithful to Jesus and God, the decision I was making was gonna translate into my whole family. And so when I told the guy, that studied the Bible with me, look, I appreciate what people are sharing with me, and this is just not for me. And he goes, well, it's really sad, Lou, that you've decided to turn your back on God. He goes, but your little brother? I said, yeah. He said, he's gonna follow you. He's gonna follow you to hell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and a lot of times people can look at that as, wow, how manipulative. No, truth is truth. Either you believe it or not.
Right.
Truth is truth. Are you going to lead the way to righteousness in heaven,
right,
or are you going to go down to the road of perdition? You've been down that road. You know where it goes.
Right.
You almost died doing cocaine, you dummy. And you're going to go and choose, that darkness again. And it broke me. It broke me at the age of 22. And once again, I never looked back. I said, I'm going to stay faithful to the day I die. And God, in his faithfulness, brought all my family into the kingdom. So it's like, wow.
And I think it's something that's that holds true, right? I'm not sure how much that pastor knows much about you, but from your childhood, you really wanted to lead, right? You really were a big thing about trying to show your little brother, obviously show your sister that, hey, look, I'll be the example. So one of the things that, especially like hearing the word, right, speaking through people, right, God has a tendency to do that.
He does.
It's interesting to hear that you're kind of hearing the voice of like, continue to lead, continue pushing forward, continue trying to like, kind of do the right thing, lead by example, and in your path of which, like, and obviously even as you mentioned, like even during this time, you're not living the best life. So, but it's this goal of always trying to be better. Yeah. That pressure didn't break you. That pressure wasn't like, because that seems like a lot to put on your shoulders.
It's Jovonni, it's true. I think the reality is this: I'm living my best life now because not only am I going to church, not only am I preaching and teaching, not only am I counseling others and helping others, but I myself am being counseled. I myself am being helped. I myself have a group of men that I meet with every morning. And we go and we talk about, the things that are going on in our hearts, in our lives, and how to maintain our sexual purity. It's I don't know if any other church is doing it. I don't know if any other group of guys that even deals with this.
Sure.
And so you can be successful. You can get the help you need if you're honest and if you realize I can't do this by myself. We call it in recovery, we call it higher power. I call it God and Jesus, but to understand God and Jesus and the practicals, it's one thing to know the principles,
right,
which is wonderful. But how do I apply these things daily, given my nature,
sure,
given who I am in my flesh?
Right.
It's a whole different story. But then you get the practicals from people who've been down that road. It is life changing, and I think that's why my conscience is clear. My relationship with my wife is better than it's ever been. There's transparency between us that never existed before. And there's connection and healing and nothing but faith, hope, and love. And it's just it began with the scriptures, but it's kind of expanded out to different people who in different walks of life who I've allowed to help me because I'm a person. I'm a work in progress. I've achieved a lot. I've done a lot of great things.
Right.
I even wrote the anthem for our church movement. And I'll sing it for you if you'd like me to. But no, and so God's done a lot of great things through me and helped a lot of people. But He continues to help me, and not just me and Him. It ain't about that. No, it's me and Him and the body of Christ. People say, "Oh yeah, Jesus, yes, the church, no." What? No, impossible. You got to have a relationship with Jesus, but you got to have a relationship in the body and people that you can talk to when you're in need.
Right.
And I got that, and I think that makes all the difference in the world. There's a lot of guys go to church, and peace be with you is their only interaction. They They don't know you outside. You got your church friends, and then you got your real friends. It was never meant to be that way, and yet that's what it's become when you replace relationship with God with religion. You know, and I did that for years, and now I don't do it. So I just thank God for that. So yeah, that's why I believe I'm living my best life now.
So you mentioned going through this journey. Where does your kind of wife fit in the picture? How did that kind of come into play?
My wife is, since we first went out in 89, 90.
Wait, so this is during college, right? Or
This is after This is after grad school.
after grad school?
So
Excuse me.
I was in Boston, finished, got my master's degree. Then we planted a church in Los Angeles
Oh, okay.
in 1989 called the Los Angeles Church of Christ. And we started with 15 people, meeting at an elementary school called Fairburn Elementary, 50 people. And in the next 11 years, the church was 10,000 meeting at the LA Convention Center.
Whoa.
And matter of fact, we had a special service in the Rose Bowl. With about 18,000 people. And it was just amazing. And that dream continues to be mine. And eventually 18,000 in the Rose Bowl is only part of it.
Right.
I'd love to fill that bad boy one day. But, we'll see how that all works out. But it's been an incredible journey for me and an exciting one. And like I said, it can only be done through the power of God.
Yeah.
It can only be done through the power of the body of Christ working together with an individual.
And so, did you guys meet at church? You and your wife?
We met at church. She was at Mount St. Mary's in Brentwood. I was at the UCLA campus ministry working for Mayor Tom Bradley.
Oh, wow.
You probably don't even know who that is.
No, this was in the late 90s.
Yeah, 90s when I worked for him, and they named the airport after him. The Bradley Terminal. That's my old boss. So I right after Harvard, I worked for him, had a wonderful job, and that's when I left politics to go into the full-time ministry. And it was also in '92. I was in LA for the riots, which is another one. Wow, what an experience that was. But yeah, I just, God has moved me into incredible positions, to have an impact for him. But, he's through the Holy Spirit, he's guiding me the whole way. And once again, you can't do it by yourself.
Sure.
This journey has got to be traveled with men and women who love you. And so my wife and I met at UCLA campus ministry, fell in love, went on our first date in 1990 and got married in 1993.
Wow.
Yeah, in South Central LA, of all places, Southgate, actually. She got married in Southgate.
And what's kind of her personality like?
Next year will be 30 years.
30 years?
30 years.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had Mr. Burke on. He was married. He's been married for about 36 years.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that, like, you never hear people being married for that long, let alone 10 years, if that, 30 years. That's a commitment. Like,
marriage is work. Marriage is a commitment. And we've worked through it. And there, obviously it hasn't been easy for my wife.
Yeah.
When you're married to an addict, and you're dealing with this and you're coming to, realization, and then you start working together. And I think that's what makes the difference. Working together.
Sure.
And having a transparency and having a connection. We have a closer relationship than we've ever had before. But it didn't come without, its battles.
Sure.
And a lot of my friends are divorced. A lot of my friends, you have to make a commitment, say, do we want this to work?
Right.
And if we want this to work, we both have to work at it. Okay, what do we need to do to make that happen? And we're both committed to it, And she's a superstar. And what she's like personality-wise, she's got a heart of gold. She loves to hike. She loves to dance. She's got a beautiful speaking voice. I hope you guys get to interview her one day. But she is a Native American.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned this.
Yes, Native American / French Canadian. And she grew up in Pomona.
Oh, okay.
And then from Pomona went to Mount St. Mary's. And she was actually born in Phoenix. But after Mount St. Mary's, she married me. and left school for a little while, and then she went back and finished her bachelor's degrees. Then got her master's degree at USC
Oh, wow.
in gerontology, and right now she's working on her PhD at Grand Canyon University.
GCU.
Yeah,
Yo.
that's exactly right.
Hey, we were in Tempe, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were there for about 4 years, 5
Wow.
years. It's one of the beautiful things about Arizona, man. It's just like they have this really good way of, obviously, Yuma, your family's kind of out there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Arizona keeps calling you,
We love it. We
Arizona.
go there, and we go over to Chinle, where her family is in Four Corners, and visit family there at times, and it's just wonderful to be on the reservation.
Yeah.
It's just
Just the land.
whole another. So now she's getting her PhD, and I'm just so probably have to call her Dr. Martinez.
Yeah,
So that'll be awesome. I look forward to that. But I'm so proud of my wife. She is my absolute best friend. We've worked through so much together. And because of our transparency, we have a closer relationship than ever before.
Right.
And now we can help other people.
Sure.
Help other people that are going through it right now. So many couples are going through it.
Right.
You don't know about it. You're not going to hear about it on
Right,
Facebook.
right.
Because they're going through it. I was talking to a dear friend of mine who I love to death, and he's just decided he's going to settle to just live with the woman.
Mm.
And I'm like, they got a kid together, and it's like, you're just going to live there? You're just no chance at reconciliation or friendship or anything? No, and I thought, it's just a sad existence.
Yeah.
And he's not the only friend like that.
Yeah.
I've got a few that are outside the church. In the church, we deal with it.
Right.
And I think that's what makes the church a lot different, is that you can't be in the church and live in sin. You just can't. You got to get help. And if you don't want to get help, you're going to lose your marriage. You're going to eventually lose your relationship with God.
Sure.
And I think that's what so many Christians they run into. They think, oh, God didn't fix me or train me. You didn't do the work. There's work to be done in every marriage, in every relationship.
Right.
Anything that's worthwhile, there's work to be done. But you got to be connected to your God, and you got to be connected to the right people to help you.
Yeah, I think community is something that's
It's huge.
I think we're sitting down with I had a Miss Akrami. She's been on one of our shows as well, and she's a huge follower of faith. And one of the things that she was mentioning is that that community is something that's not where it used to be. You have the internet, right? Obviously, internet, and it's very easy to find your people within the internet's world, but it's very also easy to kind of get sucked in a whole different world as well. Like it's, if you're not intentional about how to use it, then you don't really have this connection of what's going on. Like I can tell you a ton of people who I play this game, like this card game, right? I can tell you all their names. I can tell you who won the tournament last week. I can tell you all that, right? But I couldn't even tell you my neighbor's name.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you when his birthday is.
Yeah.
I never brought like, hey, you need sugar or like flour, It's the neighbor right next door I know less about than all these other people around me.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I think church kind of does. I don't know if you have kids or
3 kids.
So having them kind of live in this community that you kind of been able to kind of be a part of, how do you think that's has changed them? And not only that, what is your sense of like the community of being in kind of I know you just moved from DC back out to here, kind of finding a new community, finding a new sense of like people connection and individual. Like what's your mindset on community?
Great question, Jovonni. So community is essential.
Right.
And community is the body of Christ. And you cannot have Christ if you don't have community. You just can't. He never meant it. I mean, he was one man, but he chose 12.
Right.
And the reason he chose 12 was because of community. And so you realize that community is so incredibly important in raising your kids and doing what you do. My kids, I love them to death. They are superstars.
Right.
They are incredibly talented. Oh gosh, musicians extraordinaire.
Yeah.
One of them's a dancer / stuntman. So he's amazing. He went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in Hollywood. So he got his degree there, and right now he's building his own business. As I was
awesome.
sharing with you a little bit, and it'll be it's a multimedia business. And so they all grew up in the church, and they all had their different experiences.
Right.
Very interestingly, they've all decided to not be part of the church. They did not want to walk down that path.
Sure, sure.
And you can't, as a parent, you can't make them.
Right.
The Bible says, train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. Well, my kids aren't old, and they've all decided to go their own way. And so that's kind of where they're at right now. But, Kathy and I, as believers, we know that, listen, we just keep shining the light, and we keep working on us.
Right.
Working on our relationship. There certainly were things in our relationship that were hurtful to them. They saw a lot of our devotion to church and to the work we do as taking away from them growing up. So, and there's some truth to that, and I think, to try to find the balance in your life where your kids feel like, they're just as important as the kids in church, and so, that has been a bit of a challenge, but all of them have done well. They're all great kids. They're all very compassionate. My daughter's at Humboldt State, finishing up her degree in Native American Studies, and my son LT, he went to American Musical and Dramatic Academy, and then my son Philip Lorenzo is right now. He just drove here from D.C.
Oh, yeah.
He drove all the way here by himself. Broke up after a breakup with his girlfriend, 3 years, and just broke his heart. And he just had to get away. So he drove all the way over here. Now he's living with us. He's 20. He's very young. He's 20, and he's dabbled in a number of different things, including becoming a chef.
Oh, yeah.
So working on that. But he's decided, I don't want to go the education path. I do not want to come out of college, $250,000 in debt and then work for $25,000 a year, because I don't want to do that. It makes no sense, because I want to do something where I'm making money now. Yeah. So he's looking at electrician school. He's looking at a variety of things right now. And
trade is always good, right?
And I think that's the way he wants to go.
And so I actually have a question here. You're kind of in the fatherhood, right? And also your journey, obviously, through the Lord and Christ and your Christian faith. What do you kind of see? Do you kind of see like you picked up some things from your parents? Because I know your father, you mentioned, was like your mother had a very big nobility about trying to pass that. Sure, faith is not always something that they didn't push, obviously they brought you there and stuff. But I think the character of what they were trying to pass down, is there any like qualities that you were able to kind of gain from your parents and be able to kind of pass it down to your children, or qualities?
Without a doubt. Yeah. My mom and dad were very hard workers, especially mom. I mean, they both were. But, the work ethic was definitely something that they instilled in us. The pride and the gratitude of being born in America always was something huge to them. They said, my dad always told me, you're Chicano, you're Mexican American. He says, but you were born here, and you need to be grateful for that. And the fact that, the opportunities here are tremendous because of, our American way of life. So as proud as he was to, be Chicano, he always said, be grateful that you're in America. And my mom, same way. She came from a situation in which in Samoa, she got a scholarship to University of Hawaii, because she lived in Honolulu for a while. She got a scholarship, and she couldn't take it because the family said women don't go to college. And it was really tragic, for mom. So that's when she left and joined the Army.
Yeah.
So that was her rebellion. She got out of there. And then she eventually ended working for the city of Buena Park engineering department. And she did a lot of the engineers' work. And they were like, how do you know that? She was just that bright.
Right.
She just never got her degree, sadly. But so all of that, it comes together to make us, So, the hard work ethic we pass on to the kids, loving life, enjoying life, loving people, caring about people, and serving people. My mom and dad served so many people. We were growing up through a group called the Cousins Club. They did so much good work through that organization to serve the poor and the less fortunate. And that stuck with all of us. And I think all of us are like that, even including my kids. My kids are very, well, it's funny, they differ, but my daughter's, kind of, I guess what you'd call a tree hugger. My son, LT, he's the oldest, is kind of way left of center. And then my son, Philip, is way right. So, and they all grew up in the same house.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Which is like, how in the world does that happen? How do you get these different perspectives, But because I think Mom and I created, even though we wanted them all to become Christians and get baptized, they decided on a different route. And
Yeah.
we look at that and say, what was our journey like? God, what was my journey like?
Right.
Okay, kids, do what you need to do. Pursue your dreams. We're going to be here to support you in whatever way we can, but understand every decision you make, there's a consequence.
Right.
There's a consequence. And we're living it.
Right.
We're living it ourselves. So we know that. So we're trying to, pass on to them hard work, do what you love, and but take full responsibility for the decisions you make. Because when you play the victim, forget it. You've lost before you've even begun to fight. Don't play the victim.
I think one of the things is hearing your story, which I've actually kind of learned something here. It's like you have this balance, right, where you recognize that, like, hey, look, your path, right, worked really hard when you were young to get to kind of the position where you were. You obviously you had some demons that you were fighting, but you don't judge, right? You're not really judging anyone. You don't judge anyone. Everything, every comment about. I haven't seen you say not one, like, you know what, this guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's no sense of just like, and I imagine obviously, you probably have some people in your life that I don't keep around, but it's really cool to kind of see the perspective, just like, hey, there's individuals in that you've experienced, and you find the qualities about them that, like, hey, look, we all have things we're working on, but there's great things about there's great things about you, there's great things about this, and so. That perspective of seeing the positive of almost every scenario. How do you become that strong? Like, where did that really come from? Do you feel like it was more of a family thing, more of a faith thing, more of a education thing? Like, where do you kind of feel like that piece of?
Great question, and I think it's definitely a combination of everything. I think the scriptures are very clear in terms of principles, and what you want to be. And then the practicals. You get the practicals from a variety of groups. Sometimes it's 12-step recovery groups. Sometimes it's support groups. A lot of it comes from family and experience. There was I'm a vocalist, so I sing. And one of my favorite vocalists is Donny Hathaway.
Oh.
And Donny Hathaway sang this song, A Song for You. And he said there's this great line in the song. He says, I know your image of me is what I hope to be. And I thought, that's like my life. That's my life. I know your image of me is what I hope to be. A lot of people had an image of me because I was the captain of the football team, because I was the ASB president, because I was most likely to succeed or whatever. And, and I went to Harvard and it's like, all these things where people, they have this image of you, and I sing this song. I say, I know your image of me is what I hope to be. I've said it to my wife, my kids. It's like that's who I am. There's something I want to be. There's something I am, and then there's that path. Right. There's that journey, and this journey has happened for the past 58 years. And since becoming a Christian, 35 years with Christ's help and the Word of God and the Holy Spirit, and then, I want to say since 2001, the different recovery programs that I've gone through in my own journey, and now I'm at this place where it's like, wow, I feel like I can really help and teach others. So it's a combination of everything.
You're not angry though. You're not angry that you lost your sister. You're not angry that your father's no longer here. You're not. There's no sense of just like, you know what, man. You don't blame the government. You're political, right? You don't blame the government for your sister. You don't. Right. There's no one like. There's no. I'm waiting for the drama. Where's the? I'm joking.
No, this is good. No, because to think that doesn't exist. It does exist, but there's a group of friends that I talk to about all this stuff. There's a group of friends that I talk to when I have these, the issues I have with Joe Biden. There's a group I talk to when I talk about, my supervisors, my boss, and stuff like that, and the leadership of the church and the politics. People say, well, there are no politics in church. You ain't been to church lately. There's plenty of politics. Whatever there's people, there's politics. And, they teach you, in recovery, one of the first things they teach you is like, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That right there is like, it's it's not in the Proverbs, but it should be, because there's brilliance there. There's brilliance there, and it has to do with trying to live a good life, but knowing that you're a broken and flawed human being. And the quicker you get with a community of people who aren't playing games, who aren't living the facade, who are ready to get real and open and honest and get help and get change, and then celebrate each other's recovery, celebrate each other's growth, progress, victories. That it all comes again. So yeah, I have issues. I have bitterness and resentment that I've had to deal with, but I'm dealing with it. If I wasn't dealing with it, oh my, you can believe I probably wouldn't be here. What am I talking to you for?
Right.
I'm gonna spend my time with you. I got money to make. I got all the different things, and I looked at this as a tremendous opportunity to share about me and about life and about letting people know that what we're doing in the community. And I'm kind of a product of what we're doing. And so this ain't get rich quick.
Yeah.
This ain't get healed overnight.
Right.
This is life in progress. This is a work in progress.
Right.
And wherever you're at, God can take you and transform you. But it's going to take work on your part and on the part of the people that that you decide to trust. If you don't trust anybody, gosh, best wishes, because I can't do it without people.
I have two final questions in this kind of life chapter. The next final question I have is, what's the dream? What's the everything you've kind of gone through, and I imagine you had a dream as a child, and it seems like what that was is just like making a difference. You mentioned that your father really and your mother kind of still mostly your father, it seems. You're in America. That opportunity is a big thing here. Don't squander that. And I think that kind of sparked that kind of political side of you. Also want to become a lawyer, doctor. Like, I don't want too much studying. But you want to make a change. You want to make a difference. But you found like the word, and it seems like that has been like the driving force for you now. You're now your family's here. Like obviously you just gained another son. I'm not gained another, excuse me, but he came back home. So what's the goal now? What's the dream? What are you fighting for? What do you want out of life? What do you see kind of now looking at your past and where you've been? What's the kind of like, okay, this is the next journey, the next step kind of you're aiming for?
Oh, great question. I think the dream for me is I want to build a community. I want to build a community of people here in the Inland Empire that truly and deeply care about each other. And obviously I want to do that through my church. And it's got to be a place where, everybody, the doors are wide open. Come on in. Come as you are. Learn what the Word of God can teach you about Jesus. Learn what it means to be a disciple. I mean, one time I thought the disciples were the 12 guys. No, disciple is something He calls all of us to be, to follow in His steps. And so now I'm teaching that to people. And so I want to build that kind of community here in the Inland Empire, and then build a church and a community that my kids will find attractive. My kids will come back to. That eventually, as they go off on their journeys doing what they're doing, they realize they can always come back. And so it has to be a place that's relevant. It has to be a place that's loving, that's accepting, that's opens their arms wide to everyone. So the dream, that's the dream right now, to create that in the Inland Empire, and we're actually and then exporting that out to the rest of the world. And right now we're doing it. I want to say, gosh, we're in we have about 56 churches we got 120 churches in like 56 nations on every populated continent of the planet. And so that's the growth that I've seen in the church, and I'm a part of that. It's been amazing. I got brothers and sisters in Poland. Right? I got a lot of them came from Kiev when the war happened. They had to be moved. The men had to stay. They were forced to stay. But the others, moved off to Warsaw and began to start a church there. And it's the same church. It's the same church with the same first principles and the same love and the same community that we've built all over the world, and they're going through a very tough time. I mean, they're going through a very tough time in Kiev, but that's kind of the dream now, So to build that kind of community and to, eventually make it such that, anybody can come, everybody feels welcome, and my kids will come back.
Right.
That's my ultimate dream, is to see each of them baptized. My daughter was baptized into Christ, and she left the church when she went to London. She decided that that's not what she wanted to do, and it was a hurtful time for all of us, for her in particular. She went through a tough time spiritually, but I want to build that kind of community that they'll always know that they have a home to come to. And my son is a perfect example. He's driving across the country by himself, heartbroken after his breakup, but he calls me when he's in Columbus. "Hey, Dad, you got any friends here?" I said, "Yeah, buddy, I got friends." I call my minister friend Colton. I said, "Colton, man, can you hook up my son? He needs a place to stay." "Oh, bro, of course. Colton's my family." Colton used to lead the ministry here in the Inland Empire. Now he's in Columbus, Ohio, doing the same thing. My son goes and stays with the brothers over there, has a great time playing music, because my son's a musician, and one of the guys there is a drummer, and they were jamming together, had a great time. Then he did the same thing, stopped off in Salt Lake City, with my friends. I mean, it just, and these are my friends from church, that I've run into in different places. One of the guys in Salt Lake City, I married him and his wife, but that's the community I have. And so my son, who doesn't even go to church, benefits from the community because of me.
Sure.
And he's just like, so I know it's going through his head. It's like, wow, these are good people. My son's going, these are good people. They're not just, wacky Christians. They're good people.
Yeah.
And so he experiences that. My daughter's experienced the same love. She went through a tough time in London. There's some things in the London church that she did not find kosher, but, eventually left. And then my son LT grew up in the church as far as, what we call Kids Kingdom, came up through the teens and stuff like that. But he's just decided, not for me, but yet I'm holding that hope. He's 28. And I'm holding that hope that eventually, as he goes through his stuntman stuff and his, dancer stuff and artistic stuff, that he'll come back and realize this is an incredible community to be a part of, son. It's always been, and my kids know in their heart of hearts, they know, they've loved the people. There's
Right.
a lot of people they love that are in church. They just, I guess sometimes it's the dogma, they call it, the dogma, or the lack of tolerance for alternative lifestyles. And I'm like, son, sin is sin. I don't care what it is. And whether you're struggling with this or with that, you got to come to conviction about what you know is right or wrong. And I see what the scriptures teach about certain things, and this is what I teach, but I don't look at one sinner worse than another. I don't, so once again, that's that community. If you read Colossians 3, oh my gosh, that's the church. It's so beautiful to see that church, and they had their problems, but this is what they were striving for. Colossians 3, it's beautiful.
Looking back at everything now, your life and kind of like where, is there anything like you want to, touch up on, and or, how do you feel about it? How do you feel like kind of your life has been, and kind of what you were able to do and accomplish, and just like, where you started and where you're from, and where you've become,
I look back and I'm filled with gratitude. I look back and I say, I've achieved so much of what I set out to achieve. I've been an integral part of a growing fellowship. There was a year where our church, grew to, I want to say we were in like 140 some odd nations, and we were meeting with 200,000 people all over the world. And then there was a big schism, a big break. And that was heartbreaking, And so it's always kind of been my dream to bring the common elements apart, the positive things back. So I'd love to see that happen. But I have no regrets, no regrets. I've grown from all the things that I've gone through, all the challenges, that I've had personally, challenge I've had on a church-wide basis. And I just see, I feel like my greatest years are ahead of me, Right now, I'm working on a project with my son called 59 by 59. So I'm doing a workout program and diet to lose 59 pounds by the time I'm 59, May 15th next year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my next, thing, my next project personally, to take what I've learned in recovery in some areas and put it in this other area, called overeating. So, and to try to get back in shape. So, just looking forward to stuff like that, getting better, continuing to get better. We have this book club my wife and I do called Books You Should Have Read in High School. And we're having a blast reading all the classics that I never read in high school. I wish I did. And we're inviting the whole community. Now we got about 300 people in the local area. And then I started it in D.C., 1,200 people over in D.C.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's hot. The book club in D.C. is flat. Awesome. This one's just kind of in its fledgling stage. But, reading the classic literature, I realized that every single author I've ever read is trying to find their way back to God in one way or another. They're trying to find purpose. They're trying to find meaning. They're trying to find love. I know where it is.
Yeah.
And if I could get that word out to everybody, it's like, man, right now we're doing this big fundraiser. We're raising about $750,000 for 28 different churches that we just started to continue to do the work. And as you know, $750,000 doesn't go a long way with 28 churches. It's like you're talking about spreading it.
Yeah.
But you got to, you're doing what you're doing, and I want to find those individuals who have all the money in the world, but don't have anything to live for, because money to me is a means to an end.
Sure.
I have no desire to be rich. I have this beautiful house in Rancho Cucamonga. 1 story, 3-bedroom. I just put an addition in the front, to make what they call a social yard.
Yep.
And so we can invite our neighbors over and stuff and really build community. And so I have what I need, and so the only thing I care about now is meeting people who have tremendous means and putting them together with people who have tremendous needs. And I feel if I can do that, in the midst of building this community that I'm trying to build in the Inland Empire, man, we could do some great work.
Yeah. Not
only in the Inland Empire, but all throughout Southern California, all throughout the United States, and, I just came back from New Delhi, a conference over there. And wow, a whole different way of life, Jovonni, a whole different way of life. Beautiful. But man, to be able to export this love, this community to New Delhi, to other places all throughout the world, man, that's my dream. That's the big dream, and that's what I look forward to doing. So I'm hoping and praying to meet those people, like I said, who've got means, but who really have nothing to really spend it on other than themselves.
Sure, sense of purpose. Yeah.
Yes, a purpose. Yes,
Yeah.
Something to so that it could multiply. For me, it went from me to me and my mom, to me and my mom and my sister, to me and my mom and my sister and my brother and my other sister. There's a multiplicative effect of goodness that's happened. I'd love to see that on a worldwide level, beginning right here in the Inland Empire.
Yeah, the world economy, everything is kind of it's troubling times right now.
Oh my gosh, it's not easy. But community, you take care of each other.
It's more than needed to have.
Oh my gosh,
in some way, shape, or form. I think it's. I think you're 100% on it, and that's really cool. Just we have a few final questions for you, but I'm very humbled to kind of hear your story, and one of the things that I admire, right, is you're not just someone who's just trying to achieve a goal just to kind of achieve for find this financial gain or this agenda, right? Sure, there is an agenda, right? Your goal is to try to kind of I call it spread the fire, right? You want to be close to the fire. The goal is to try to share that fire, right? Essentially, this burning desire to have purpose and meaning within your life, right? Your purpose being God, and you want to be able to share that to others, right? But it's not just that simple, right? You don't come from this past of just, everything's been rainbows and unicorns, right? For sure, on the outside, it does look like that. From the outside of the perspective, like you mentioned the artist, right? I know of your image of me, right? Excuse me, I don't know if I got that right.
I know your image of me is what I hope to be.
And so the image of people, they see you and this person of just someone who's aspiring to trying to be the best version of themselves, right? But you internally, man, you just feel like you always wanted to kind of do better and do the best, right? You always wanted to lead by example. You always want someone who you've been fighting, right? And it seems like a lot of people, maybe from what I just grasped, like not many people know what you're dealing with internally, but you're still you're always trying to make the world a better place. You're always trying to see the best in people. You're always trying to. It's so crazy because it's even you having all these things going on internally. You're not letting it stop you. You're not letting you're still. You don't take it out on you're still trying to work through stuff. You're still trying to surround yourself with the right people. You're the habits of what you're trying to, your soul is yearning for this sense of like, hey, I want to make a difference in this world. And not just superficially, not just like, oh, hey, yay, I got a master's degree and I did some stuff, but like I actually help people make a difference in life. I save people in a way. And that's really cool. It's really, really cool to see this kid, become, this man of God. And it's so cool. It's really, really fascinating. And I'm really appreciative that you took the time to really kind of go into that, because some of these topics are not easy, especially in the world we're in right now.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about faith is a dangerous world. Talking about just
politically incorrect.
Yo, it's very dangerous right now. It's dangerous waters we're walking in. But the goal of this show was to just give people, the ability to speak the way that, about what matters to them and what life has been like in your shoes and what life has been like, and how you've been going through, and you're the people you're interacting with, you're able to contact these individuals who support you, and you have all these friends who are attorneys, and you have other friends who are like becoming, they're working on big projects out here, and you're still showing them love and you're still showing them support, and even if they don't have the same faithful views, you still look at them in the light, because I think that's what a lot of people are nervous about, right? That people of faith look down on other people who don't have, and you don't take that approach, right? You take this approach of like, hey, yes, I have a strong faith in something, right? But I don't see you as less of or less than. You see them as just, hey, look, yes, we may not agree on certain areas, right? But we can see, you're still. You're still part of the family, right? In a way, right? You're still welcome to be around. You're still, we don't always have to agree on every single aspect, but my goal is always to do so. Like if I'm I know we kind of have this kind of left side red, right? Blue side, right?
Yeah.
We the goals, I think, is always to be a minister of the purple, right? The goal is to interact with every single person. We're all American, right? We're all people, right?
Yes.
We're all humans, right?
Yes.
So in a way, you still have to live with each other and work with each other. And it seems like it's really cool to see the approach that you're striving for now. I mean, obviously, it seems like your entire life, right? In a way, to have that balance and work with people and interact with them and show them that, hey, look, you can be, on fire for God, right? On fire for, your political views, or on fire for your social views, whatever you have, but still work with people and not treat them as if they're less than. And I love that part about your story. I love it. And I think more people should hear that, like a sense of just, hey, you don't have to be so polarized. It doesn't have to be so black and white, but at the same time, I have strong values. I have strong principles, and even though I'm super strong on those principles, I'm still willing to interact with you and work with you and talk to you. You're still part of the world.
Because Jesus
so cool.
Jesus was.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's like it's as simple as that. Jesus was.
Right.
And I'm trying to be like him. The sad thing is that if you follow in Jesus' footsteps, you get crucified.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. But
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it because I know what he's done with my life, and I know the brokenness he's brought me from, and the brokenness he helped me realize about myself. Stop the facade, Lou Jack. Stop the facade. Tell people who you are, and then tell people where they can get help.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I'm at. And so, it's way less stressful.
Yeah.
To try to just be, to try to be real than to be an image. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Louis Jack Martinez. That was deep. I really appreciate that. So we have 5 quick questions.
Sure.
And then we call it the deep questions for
That
you.
Sounds great.
Right? And then we are done for this afternoon.
Thanks so much.
This morning. So I know this is kind of interesting from the dynamic of what you just kind of went through your whole life, right?
Sure.
So these questions are essentially supposed to be thought provoking. The idea is to try to see if like can they help you get a better get a better understanding of kind of like where your mentality is at now, right? So first one is what is preventing you from becoming the best person you want to be?
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great question. I think for right now, because I want to be fit. I was a college athlete. I played football, and so I played basketball in grad school. And I was a great shooter. Playing in the Harvard intramural leagues. But I think life happened to me, and kids happened. And so I think right now it's just learning how to, like I said, I think I shared it earlier, putting the recovery principles that I've learned in some areas of my life into this next area, which is eating better, healthier, and being more consistent in my workouts. Because I feel like, man, when I get the weight off and feel better about myself physically and be healthier, I am, I'm going to feel so much better about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel pretty good about myself.
Yeah.
But it's like, to this next level.
Sure.
And I think my kids I think it'll have an impact on my kids.
Yeah.
As well. And everything, everything's on dang social media now, and the doggone camera puts on 10 pounds. We're already 50 pounds overweight. That's pretty bad. So
Right.
here you go. I think the next thing for me that holding me back is just really not having right now the right coach in this area. And I'd like to get that, because I think once I have that coach, and I get on top of this,
The rest of it's just time and effort.
Baby,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. My wife's looking forward to it too. So.
In 5 words, describe how you think others perceive you.
Okay. I'd say charismatic, dynamic, approachable. I'm going to say friendly and approachable, kind of the same thing. Knowledgeable when they talk to me, so they know I'm well read, and I've got 58 years of life experience. And then another one that I think is I'm kind of grown out of, but I know I've been hit with it before, is superficial, because it's hard for some people to believe. It's just really. Come on, what else is going on? And I always tell them, later on, but I do think that people can sometimes feel that I can come off superficially, and so it takes me a longer time to connect with them and get a little more depth. I would say those. I think, and that's right off the top of my head.
No,
right?
That's fine. No, I think it's sometimes you asked that question, and obviously some people want to mention all the positive things, right? But I think there is a sense of just like there is a sense of it got hot. Oh lordy! All right, so they can hear the voice, but they can't get the camera.
Oh, sorry about
It's all good. It's okay.
I talk too much.
No, you're good. You're good. I have 2 more questions, and that's it. I think a lot of people talk about just the positives, but not so much the negative sides about them, because people do perceive people in the more negative light as well. So I like the fact, this balance that you have, this humility that you have. Okay, tell me 3 moments that changed your life.
Having a bad Coke trip, number 1. That changed my life, because I almost died, and I completely stopped doing cocaine and started getting in touch with what am I doing here? You come to Harvard to get a master's, or you go back in a body bag. That just makes no sense. So that was huge. Getting baptized into Christ, that was huge, because it was like I made a decision to make the pledge of a good conscience toward God. So that was a big decision that I had made. And then probably the one of them, when I was 13 years old, I got in a big fight with my dad, and I was just kind of an entitled, ungrateful teenager, and I mouthed off to him, and I really hurt him, and he looked at me and he said to me, "You are so ungrateful." That's it. That's all he said. And I looked at him and I said, and it just hit me. I am so freaking ungrateful. And I just wept. And I cried. I never disrespected or talked back to my dad again from 13 to the time he died, till 2008 when he passed away. Never disrespected him. Never got in an argument with him. Just loved him, respected him, and appreciated him. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. I remember that moment, and I wish some other areas of my life would have changed that drastically, but that changed. That changed. So that was big.
I think sometimes, I think, you don't really appreciate, even now looking back, obviously he's no longer with us, but, man, until something's gone, you just like, man.
Yeah, it's huge.
Still to this day, man, you still hold on to it,
Bro.
Just like, but you.
It was a lesson. It was a lesson that, you got to appreciate people and you got to be grateful. Don't be entitled. Be grateful.
Yeah. And just to let you know, Sarah, it's completely okay, by the way, because you could just run a B-roll on this. So so don't stress too much, because the audio is just as good. The audio is just as good. You could play like a airplane flying in the sky. And that's a really, what I mean, whatever's good. We could, excuse me. Wait, what? Oh shoot, did I miss something up? No, I think that's it. Oh, there it is. Okay, what is your biggest hope for the future?
Ooh. My biggest hope for the future, on a personal level, as I was sharing with you, for my kids to come back to faith. I think number one, on a personal level. On a worldwide level, the guy who wrote this book, named Dr. Kit McKean, a tremendous friend of mine, tremendous visionary. He's the one that kind of planted in my heart and my mind the evangelization of the world in this generation. And so that hope is that every single nation on the planet receives the gospel. That to me is, and then you grow from there. If you build a community in every nation, and then you build from that one city, Los Angeles or Rancho Cucamonga or Ontario, whatever, and then just spread out. I mean, that's my hope. That's my hope, is to get the gospel out to every creature under heaven. And from what I understand, historically, that was only been done once, and that was because of Paul's missionary journeys.
Right.
That by about 80-something A.D., the scripture had gone to all the known world, and it's like, wow, I'd love to see that happen in my lifetime. So,
Mr. Martinez, I really appreciate you being on the show. I was not expecting this, but I'm really grateful to kind of sit down and hear, like your experience. Amen. And man, this has been an awesome thing. Any final things? Where can people, catch up with you? Where can people, obviously I know you do a lot of, obviously you're doing a lot of ministry out here, and so where can people kind of interact with you?
Certainly. I hope you can post my number. Anybody can call me. But we have every Tuesday night, we have a dinner. A Bible study at my place, 7:00, and it's open to the whole community until we can't fit anybody there. But, on Sundays, we meet over in Colton at the Comfort Inn and Suites in Colton. We're meeting there temporarily. We are looking for a new location somewhere in Ontario or Rancho Cucamonga. So if anybody out there has got a place, you want to make some money, we like to spend money on our facilities,
right?
To get the word out. So Chamber of Commerce is also a place they can reach us. That's all our contact information is there. But yeah, I live right there on Pepper Street in Rancho Cucamonga, and got the social yard. So that's for a purpose. That basically says, come on over. We've done some fun things at the house so far. We had a Cinco de Mayo party. We invited the whole neighborhood.
That's awesome.
Housewarming, same thing. So yeah, you can reach us. You can reach us, via and Facebook.
Yeah,
Facebook's another one. So I'll make sure I give Sarah all my contact information.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description below.
Oh, please do. And we love meeting people. We love fellowshipping. We love having people over for dinner. And this coming Sunday, we'll be over in Colton at the Comfort Inn and Suites, 10 o'clock to 12. So come on out and join us. You'll have a blast, and we have a great time singing together, eating together, fellowshipping together, and just, like I said, building community.
Awesome. Thank you. For everyone, please, thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry about the camera. We overheated today, but it's all good. That's life. So if you guys can please, like, comment, subscribe, and please share. This be really awesome to get the message out. And we're just excited to kind of sit down with people and kind of hear what's going on. I know last week to get to go over the art piece that was donated for you today, but shout out to Sarah. She made the piece for you.
Thank you, Sarah. You're the best.
I think it does really well about explaining the balance of things.
I think you guys are going to be friends. I think you guys are going to be friends of ours for a long time.
Get excited. Yeah, I hope so too. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and have a great